Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Yeah.
Can I make you move now? Yes, I can. So you can get this move in the back of a can. You can make it round the world when the holes in your hand. Popcorn World. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. That's that popcorn make you smile. Ah. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. It's a popcorn world. It's a popcorn world.
You're now listening to Bleav in the ACC with Heisman Trophy winner and Florida State legend, Mr. Charlie Ward, Wave 3 TV, and Fern Creek Hall of Famer, Kendrick Haskins, and Mr. Talking Noise himself, and of course, Mama Noise's man, Lloyd Smith. And now, it's time for Bleav in the ACC.
It is a glorious Thursday morning, and we are back. And we have breaking news already. We did not expect this, but Charlie Ward came on to the show this morning flexing with his ACC Legends shirt. He looks good. First of all, let me start. I said he looks fantastic. That's a very nice polo shirt.
And that was a Charlie Ward humble flex.
He thought he was going to slip it past us. But he looks, but the good news is you look amazing. So that's also something too.
I don't understand it.
What do you mean? Charlie, we've been doing this 4 years now. What do you mean you don't understand it? You are our hero. Did you ever know that you're my hero, Charlie?
You're a legend.
I don't understand it.
If somebody didn't know a legend, you were a legend. They just have to look at your shirt.
You know why you don't understand? You know why you don't understand it? Is because you're the legend.
Right.
You can't. It's not ready.
Lloyd and I are just mere mortals.
It's just mortals. We're just regular dudes.
I'm wearing a shirt that I was given.
Yeah.
At a golf tournament that I was invited to.
Mm-hmm.
Did everybody at the golf tournament get that shirt, or just the legends?
The ones that were invited, I would imagine, all got their shirt.
Exactly.
The ones that were
That's exactly right.
Exactly. The players that were invited.
The players that and all the players were what?
And the coaches.
Yeah, all the players and coaches were what now, Charlie? What were they?
And then others had a chance to be able to
purchase.
Right, they had to purchase. But the guys that were given, they were all what now? There's a word missing from this conversation. They were all what?
Played in the ACC. Some aren't in the ACC. Some schools aren't in the ACC right now, but they played in the ACC during that time.
You know, they talked about your elusiveness as a player, and I see it. I see your ability. You are just as elusive today as you ever were, sir. I'm here for it. Just Bleav in the ACC. We have this good time.
We love you, Charlie.
All the time. That's what we do here. That is the great Kendrick Haskins, and everybody knows that's Charlie Ward because he's got a shirt that says it's Charlie Ward.
He's an ACC legend.
ACC legend. So there you go. We're glad to be here with you. We got a lot to cover today. But before we get into any of the football stuff,
He takes a giant swig out of it.
listen, that's the swag. of Charlie Ward.
Yep.
If you're watching this show, it's so much better if you're listening. Because if you're watching, you get to see all the wonderful things that are going on.
The little stuff that Charlie does. It's
Yes,
hilarious.
he is the king of swag.
Charlie got the Christmas tree up already.
Is that your Christmas tree? You got your Christmas tree up already?
My wife.
But you know what, though, Charlie?
Enough said. Enough
No,
said.
I get it. I totally get it. I'm not even going to rip you for that one because that's how it is, bro.
Yep.
That's how it is. A lot of ladies, they don't even look. Halloween, it's like being on a track at the Olympics. Like as soon as the gun goes off for Halloween, stuff is going up, man.
Yeah. My niece skipped past Halloween.
Yeah, stuff is going up.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, what is that? It's not even
Thanksgiving. Poor Thanksgiving.
Somebody told me Thanksgiving has become the first date of Halloween. Like it's just there for a moment.
My wife she's Christmas. Like
yeah,
if she could have a tree up the whole year, she would.
I think that's a sentiment of a lot of people.
Now you got the Temptations going. Merry Christmas.
In my mind.
Well, she started listening to Christmas music. I don't know. What month is it? November?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was last month, early month.
She's all in. She's all in.
It's Christmas.
Yeah. Let's get the music going. I don't even know where we're gonna start. Oh, we're gonna start with just real quick. We don't have to do our preview yet because that's coming. You know, we want to get a little further down the road, watch a few more games. But we have seen our teams that we support and like, whatever. Any early thoughts, real quick, you guys, about Louisville, Florida State? Any other teams you played? Duke. I've seen Duke play. I've seen who else did I see the other day? It was somebody else I saw the other day. That was interesting.
I was impressed by the way Gonzaga dismantled Baylor the other night. That was impressive.
That wasn't good. That wasn't good for Baylor. Baylor's not back. Or at least it looks like they're gonna have a long year.
I think they just ran into a buzzsaw to open the season.
How does Mark Few keep having good teams like that? Where's he finding these guys? He got a lot of Coach Krzyzewski in him.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent in that area. I mean, you're not too far from Seattle,
right?
You have a good recruiting base there, but I mean, he gets kids from all over, though. I mean,
right. And he gets his kids. That's the thing that's amazing about it. He gets his kids.
I think that's what it is more than anything. He gets the kids that fit his style of play.
He does, yeah.
He doesn't necessarily go after the best player. He goes out for the best player for his style.
You a big Mark Few guy, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, I like him. I have one of the assistant coaches, Coach Rajay, he was here at Florida State. Marsh was here at Florida State for a couple of years, and then he left to go to Gonzaga. I think he moved up the bench. So,
yeah.
But yeah, they'll be solid again this year. I mean, last year they were okay, considered. I mean, for their standards.
For their standards, yeah.
But I think this year they have another solid squad with good depth. They got some shooters. I mean, I saw some guys that were knocking down shots that you can't leave open.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if that's Nimhart. Nimhart has been there for so many Nimharts.
One for the Pacers.
Yeah, there's quite a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
But he, I think he's back a year. The good thing about them is they seem to retain their players while getting transfers.
Mm-hmm.
Guys don't seem to leave early
or at all.
And so that, to me, that's a good sign of a program.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're going to lose some kids in this day and age. That's par for the course, regardless of what school you're at. But they seem to retain like their players, which is a good sign that they enjoy it.
Yeah, you rarely hear about their players hitting the transfer portal. not as much as you do the other schools.
Right.
I did see. I have seen all three of Louisville's games so far. They have a lot of depth. They shoot. They get sometimes they get a little three happy for my taste, to be honest with you. But I mean, they do have shooters. One of the things that stands out about their bigs is all of their bigs can bring the ball up the floor. And so when you want to get out and run, and makes it a little bit easier when the big can grab it and go.
Break start from anywhere. Yeah.
Kason Pryor is going to be a fan favorite here. He already kind of is. He's going to be one of those guys where Louisville fans are going to love him. The opposing fans are going to hate him. Because he's got he's demonstrative. He's got the wild hair. He looks like Birdman. I know some fans courtside were trying to call him Birdman Jr. And they were literally asking him during the game if he likes that nickname. I couldn't hear what he said.
Oh my goodness!
It was during one of the exhibition games. But I've been big on Chucky Hepburn since he got there. The transfer from Wisconsin. He's a dog on defense.
Yeah.
My only worry with him is that if there's a tight whistle, he's going to get some foul. He's going to pick up some cheapies.
Yeah.
But he is a dog on defense, and they're likable kids, and so they're going to be fun to watch. I think realistic, given where they're coming from, I think 500 or better, I think, would be a good season. Now with these fans, who knows? But I think 500 would be a pretty good season. We're going to find out about them on Saturday. They play Tennessee here on Saturday.
Yeah.
And Saturday noon game is going to be a whiteout, and they had a pretty good crowd, because I know people were commenting about it only being 12,000 at the game. At that first game, but 12,000 in most arenas in the country is a sellout. And so, so it was loud. It was the atmosphere that you were used to at Louisville games. It was good to see. And Kelsey has brought the energy with this team, and they seem to feed off of it. He was commenting on how much they follow the scouting report and how thorough they were with the scouting report. And I think that comes with having a veteran team. And so it's going to be fun to watch them grow.
Yeah, and then I got a chance to watch a little bit of the Duke basketball team, and early returns are exactly what you probably thought that they were. They are going to be a problem for a lot of people. Cooper Flagg is that good, but you could make a case that he's not the best player on his team. He's got a backcourt mate or a running mate on that team that is every bit as good. I forget the kid's name. I think it's y'all help me.
What are you talking about? The other shooter? The shooter?
The shooter, yes, the other shooter. Yeah. It'll come to me in a second. Give me a second. Khan. Is it Khan Nupel? I can't pronounce it. I haven't had time to learn the names, people. Give me time.
Hey, give us all time.
Give us time. I think it's Nupel, KNUEPPEL, something like that. But that kid's already averaging 22 points a game. That kid can shoot that thing. And so
he already averaging 22 points. How many games have they played?
I think they played 2 or 3. Is it 2 or 3 games? One game. Oh, they played one game.
They played one game.
I thought they played the exhibition. I guess in the
exhibition game.
I'm thinking he's playing. Yeah. But he came out the gate on fire. The kid can play is what I'm saying. That's all I'm trying to say. Kid can shoot that thing. So they're going to be a problem. They got a solid center who controls the middle pretty well in Kaman Maluk. Is it Maluk? I think is his last name. So they got a good squad. They got a good squad. They're going to be there in the end, as they say.
Outside the conference, I've got to watch Indiana a little bit last night.
Yeah.
The Mbako kid went for 31 in the first game of the season.
Wow.
Career high, 31 points, 9 rebounds. It's the second highest scoring effort in the first game of the season since Eric Gordon. So they're off to a good start. They didn't play all that well. He did, but they didn't look like the number 17 team in the country last night. But of course, this first game of the season. So, and I've seen Kentucky. They look solid.
Right.
Pope's doing a great job. It's so funny how similar him and Kelsey are of their playing styles. A lot of threes, getting up and down the floor, bigs that can bring the ball up. and so that game will be super interesting in December.
For sure. Didn't get a chance to see Cal play the other night against Lipscomb here. I got caught up and just missed the entire game, but they did get the win against Lipscomb. Beat them by 16. So we'll see what Cal's new place will be. But I'll be honest with you, if I'm being completely transparent, I am most excited about women's basketball again. The Paris games were good. That USC game, USC Ole Miss game was fantastic. If that is indicative of what the season is going to be in women's college basketball, we're in for another doozy. It's weird to know more names in women's basketball now than it is to know the men's name. The men are kind of flying under the radar, in my opinion, like a lot of them, and how good they are and who they are. And the women are like, you just about know 7 or 8 great women's players.
Juju Watkins and
Juju, Flage, Hannah Hidalgo. Hannah Hidalgo is about to be probably the breakout star for this season, in my humble opinion. And she looks like she is poised and ready to take her place. Like, she looks really ready.
I tell you who impressed me in that Ole Miss USC game was KK Deans for Ole Miss.
Yeah, she was really good.
If she hadn't fouled out, it could have been.
I think they'd have won the game.
Yeah.
I think they'd have won the game.
Coming down the stretch, that she was big time coming down the stretch.
Juju's got to learn to lean on her. I forget the big girl's name. I apologize, because we're still learning some of these names, like I told you. But she's solid. They're big that they just brought in. She is good. Her footwork is really good. What do you say, Charlie?
They brought in the new girl?
Is she new? I thought she was new.
You talking about?
She may not be new. You may be right, Charlie. I thought she was.
I know they had a solid 5 last year.
So maybe that's her. Her.
You talking about Kiki Raffin?
Yes.
Yeah, she had 22 and 13 in that game the other day.
She's solid. They got to learn to really. Juju's got to learn to use that as to her advantage. That pick and roll, pick and pop, the things that, because Juju can hit and shoot and get a shot anytime she wants, but you got to pick your poison. You got to pick your moments, and everybody keeps saying, I think she's ready for the WNBA now. I think she's ready. She is in the sense of talent. She's not in the sense of understanding how to elevate everybody on that team, I think.
So I appreciate everyone wanting people to move forward. I agree, but let's just enjoy where she is now.
Exactly.
We keep putting this narrative out here, and then I just don't like it. Yes, there are quite a few people who can play at the next level. Yeah. But some of them, they just need to enjoy where they are for a year, for 2 years, and then allow them to be, college students. I was talking to ran into James Tibbs. I don't know if you know. James Tibbs was first round pick for the San Francisco 49ers in baseball this past. He's a Florida State, guy. And I ran into him in the airport, and I was asking him, how's his first year in the major league? And he's like, man, it was tough. He enjoyed it, but he said it was tough. He said he made it all up to high A. But he's like, if I could just stay in school another year, I would have. And it's just, I know people want to rush to get to a certain place, but sometimes it's okay to just enjoy where you're at. And I'm kind of happy that they can't leave until their 3rd year. Somebody's going to push the envelope with that at some point, but I'm kind of happy that they can't leave until their 3rd year, because just enjoy the college experience. There's a buffer there. There's a buffer where you don't have to become a young adult trying to make all these decisions on your own. You're kind of doing it in a bubble where you can make decisions, very similar to if when you're out on your own as an NBA or WNBA player or professional, I should say, you can make those same decisions in college now,
Right.
and you still have that buffer where you're not the only one having to try to figure it out.
And Charlie, the macro of your statement is it's better for the game. Like, look how much better the women's game is now than the men's because they get to hold on to these players a little bit longer, build the narrative of these players as their careers unfold, and then by the time they get to the WNBA, you're not sending just a good player, you're sending a prepared player who has a name that you can kind of elevate and market and build on and, expand your league. And that's how you got Caitlin Clark. That's how you got Angel Reese. That's how you got all these great players that you have now in the WNBA. So I think that model needs to maybe come back. And by the way, with NIL, that model is a workable model now because there is no financial rush for these kids to go. If you're good in high school, you get drafted you get recruited to a D1 school, you can make some decent money before you have to go to the NBA. So 3 years is not going to kill you anymore. It's not a financial detriment for you to stay anymore.
I don't see the NBA changing it though.
NBA doesn't have anything to do with it. I think it's something.
Well, it's their rule.
Yeah, what I'm saying though.
With the WNBA, with all the professional leagues, it's their rule on how long the kids have to stay in college. It's not the college decision.
Well, that's true.
It's that rule. I think if they expand more, because now they got 12, 13 teams or whatever it is. That's not enough to be able to take, freshmen or sophomores out of college because they have enough players.
I mean, they're cutting first-round picks now.
I just took the words right on out, especially when the lower half of the draft is getting cut, right from the team. Some girl that was really good for, either Stanford or maybe even I forget what team it was, but she didn't even make the squad. She was for South Carolina. She played for South Carolina. She was a guard for South Carolina. She didn't make the team for the Sparks, I think it was. She got drafted for the Sparks, and she didn't make – the Aces. She didn't make the Aces. That's what it was. I can't remember the young lady's name, but she didn't even make the squad.
I mean, just looking at just because I cover Louisville, Emily Engstler, how instrumental she was in their Final Four run when they lost to South Carolina. She just bounced around the league. She's a good player. I mean, she's a player that should be on a team, but she's bounced around just because of the way – because there's so few teams. The rosters are so small. It's only so many players that can play in the league.
Exactly.
But I do think in order to build the WNBA, the 3-year rule is perfect for them.
It is.
Because now you have names coming into the league.
Correct.
So as we transition, the ACC ranking or the rankings for the college football playoffs were released. The first version of that was released this past Tuesday, and it was interesting. You probably didn't know that because there were a couple other things going on Tuesday.
Yeah, the NFL trade deadline.
What did you say?
The NFL trade deadline.
The NFL trade deadline was going on. I think there was a couple other things, but I can't remember what they were. But the ACC made its debut, as you will, in the CFP, and Miami was ranked 4th, SMU 13th, Pitt 18th, Louisville 22nd, which probably was kind of a shocker to all of us because I was like, really, 22nd? Okay. And Clemson
win at Clemson, yeah.
Yeah, right. And then Clemson 23rd. With about 4 games, or is it 4 games? I guess 4 or 5 games left in the season. 4 games. What do you guys think about these early rankings? Still a lot of football left to be played, obviously. But what do you guys think about where we are so far? And then, of course, Oregon. The top 4 were. To me, the top 4 doesn't mean as much as the next 5 through 12. Right. Because the top 4 are going to be the top 4 because they're leading their conference anyway. But the 5 through 12 is what makes it really interesting.
they've also the ones they played each other and they lost to each other.
Yeah.
Mm.
So the 5 through the top 4 were Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, Miami. The 5 through 12 is what makes it interesting. It's Texas, it's Penn State, it's Tennessee, followed by Indiana and BYU, who are both undefeated and are sitting in the 8 and 9 spot. And by the way, BYU is leading their conference, which tells you a lot about what they think about the Big 12 right now. Notre Dame is in the 10th spot, Alabama in the 11th, and Boise State is in the 12th. So SMU is on that quote unquote cut line.
Let's just. I mean, you can say all that.
Yeah.
Let's just call it for what it is. There will never be a time that, I won't say never, but there may not ever be a time where the Big 12 and the ACC, when we talk about the Power Four, will ever get the credit for being a tough conference like the SEC and the Big Ten.
Right.
Like probably, I don't know if we'll ever see that, just because of the dynamics of the way who runs the CFP.
Mm-hmm.
Who runs the CFP? Let's ask that question.
Those two conferences.
Exactly. So when you run the CFP, then they've already put in place the rules and regulations, and it's all centered around the SEC and the Big Ten getting the most amount of the TV dollars or the money.
Yeah.
For being in the CFP. Like they've already put that in. And so now when you look at it, who has the most teams in the top 12?
That would be
four
the big,
between the two.
That'd be the Big Ten and the SEC, sir.
And
You
so,
preaching this morning. You are preaching.
So when you start looking at this whole thing, that is the reason why it's not so much people want to get out of a certain conference, is because it's skewed.
Yeah.
And then all season, we have, the top teams that in the top 12 have played one another, but they've been in the polls the entire year. So whenever a team plays another team in the SEC or the Big Ten, if it's a top 5 matchup, which those teams are good. I mean, if you look at them, they're good. I'm not saying that's the issue, but if you lose, it's okay. I mean, it's not like a big loss. And if you lose twice, they're actually talking about a 3-loss team in one of those two conferences being better than a 1-loss team.
That's
potentially
Alabama.
in another conference.
Yeah.
Oh, they're absolutely trying to find a way to get. Yeah, I was going to say they're absolutely already angling to try to find a way for Alabama to somehow make this conference, even if they lose to LSU this weekend, which we'll get to in a minute. You are 1,000% correct, Charlie. That is the glowing reveal of the CFP this week, and I don't know if there's anything anybody at this point can do to change that, other than to keep winning your games. And I'm not a Dan Lanning fan and an Oregon fan at all. But here's one thing I do appreciate about what he's doing this year. He is not calling the dogs off at all.
Mm-mm.
If you've watched any of his games this year, if he's up, he's going to be up. And if there's 30 seconds left on the score or left in the game, he's going to score. Because he knows I can't just win the game. I've got to win on quote-unquote style points and make people see that we are just as good as any SEC team.
And Kurt Cignetti's doing the same thing in Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana's got to do everybody. That's what you have to do. That's what Deion's been preaching in Colorado. We can't just win. We have to go dominate this team and leave no doubt that we deserve to be in the conversation. Because if you leave any room for doubt, you're out.
Yeah,
You are completely out.
Right. Well, the thing is like now though, you look at it like a team like Indiana. You can make the case though. The legacy conferences, the Big Ten and SEC, there's still tiers within those. It's like Indiana's 9-0. If a Michigan was 9-0, they'd be number one.
They'd be number
number
one.
two.
No, it'd be number one because they got a bigger name.
Regardless of their schedule. I mean, regardless of their strength of schedule.
Yeah.
They would be number one because of their name. And you know how I know that? Because last year the schedule was trash. And they were, and now turned out they were a pretty darn good team and deserved to be number one. But the schedule didn't say that they deserved to be number one.
Right.
The schedule was terrible.
Mm-hmm. And that's the other part about it that kills me is because the SEC, I've never been a huge SEC, but I will say this year the SEC probably is a better conference. The Big Ten is just top heavy. The Big Ten is really it's Oregon, Ohio State, and Indiana.
Right.
That's it.
And everybody else. Yeah.
That's it.
100%.
That's it.
Yeah.
But they're getting all of this because I don't even put Penn State in that tier because Penn State never wins a big game. They beat up on the rest of the teams in the Big Ten, but when they have to play Ohio State, when there's stakes on the line, Penn State loses every time. And so that's why I don't even put them in that top tier.
Now, to that counterpoint, Miami and Clemson and Louisville, who are all in the CFP, and Pitt have had to go beat ranked teams
each other
almost every week.
Well, Miami's only played one.
Well, but you understand what I'm saying? They're having to win these games. The ACC seems to be pretty balanced across the board, and you have to go get your win. Whereas you could argue that there's some of the SEC, maybe not the SEC, but the Big Ten teams are being, for lack of a better word, gifted some wins because the teams just aren't that good.
Yeah,
so
you have Northwesterns of the world.
Come on now, like UCLA, what are we talking about, right?
Michigan State, Rutgers.
So it's very interesting to see where we are and where this is headed. Again, 4 weeks left, but we'll see if anybody can crack the anybody else, and especially in the
really
ACC.
At this point, if you're in the ACC, you got to root on Miami and SMU.
I think so.
Nobody else.
I think that's probably where we are.
The thing you want is for Miami to win all their games, and that will put them at 12-0 at the end, playing in the ACC championship, and SMU to do the same thing at this point to win all the rest of their games, which would give them one loss to BYU, who could potentially be the Big 12 representative. At this point, they're the leader in the clubhouse. And SMU win the ACC because Miami's going to probably be somewhere in the top 4.
Right.
And so if SMU wins, then to me, that would be the only way that the ACC could get 2 teams in, because Miami would, to me, that would be really harsh, but we've seen harsh before. For them to drop out of the top 4, out of the entire 12-team playoff, after losing in the one of the Big 4 championships,
to one loss to another top 10 team,
to another top 10 team or top 12 team at that point.
Right.
And so
Alabama's going to lose before then, so they'll be up there.
I was going to say,
but yeah,
that would be the only way. That would be the only scenario that would give the ACC a chance to get 2 teams in.
Yep.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you,
and their schedules are conducive for that happening. Both of them.
Say it again.
Miami and SMU schedules are conducive to that happening.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I look at both schedules for BYU and SMU, because that's essentially what we're talking about. Them jumping that team. There is a chance. I don't, albeit not a great chance, but a chance that BYU could lose before they get to the Big 12 championship game.
Who they have?
They got Utah. They got Kansas. Kansas not great, but Arizona State is weird. Weirdly, they're a kind of weird team. And
Where's
then
that Utah
Houston,
game at?
That was at Arizona State. That's why I thought
Not the
that
Utah
was
when they play Utah.
they play Utah this weekend,
Where's
and
that
that's
game
at Utah. That's at Utah.
That could be tricky.
That could be tricky as well.
You know, Utah's quarterback's hurt for the 45th season in a row.
I know. I know. Yeah.
Utah was supposed to be the top dog, but they, of course, have fallen off from that standpoint. And they haven't been like a tough out. I mean, they've won games, but teams that they're supposed to compete against, you know, they just haven't been good enough on the offensive side of football to be able to, you know, compete or win those tough games. But BYU, to me, I mean, you watch them play, they're like Utah. Like we expected Utah to be.
Yeah.
You know, well coached. They play a certain way. They don't turn the football over. I mean, it's just
explosive on offense.
Yes, they play good defense, and so we keep hoping they lose. They just keep winning.
Yeah,
they're a good team. They're a really good team. Actually, I think they're probably going to get there to at least to the Big 12 championship without a loss. That Arizona State and Utah are both difficult. Utah's just going to be tricky because it's on the road. It's probably a night game, I would imagine, and so that's going to be a tough environment. But outside of that, I mean, that BYU team is really good, and I really want to see them in the playoff.
I also want to see the number 20 team.
I definitely would like to see that.
Big 12 championship game.
I would love to see that in the Big 12 championship.
All them people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can eat crow or whatever you call it.
It's amazing how much more attention they got when they were losing than they are when they're winning.
Correct.
And by the way, there is a path. They are technically right now tied for second in the Big 12 conference. They need an Iowa State loss, and they need to maintain their position and win out, which, by the way, they have a schedule that says they could. And if they played the way that they have.
To me, they have a tough game this weekend against Texas Tech.
This is a tricky game. This is definitely a tricky game because Texas Tech is the team that beat Kansas State. So this is a tricky game. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that game. But nonetheless, they have a path. They have a path to the Big 12 championship. And then once that happens, boy, I'm with you, Charlie. I would love to see because boy, it sure has gotten quiet in these I hate Colorado streets. It's not as loud as it used to be, isn't it?
Not nowhere near as loud as it used to be.
To me, the greatest thing is how quiet Paul Feinbaum has had to be. Now, I've enjoyed that tremendously. But
I will say watching it every now and then. I'll have it on SEC Network in the office. And the callers that call that show, I mean, they're fantastic.
Oh, they're fantastic. They are.
It's a whole different world.
They are wild, to say the least. They are wild, to say the least. Okay, let's go through the Week 10 games.
That game was wild.
This was a very strange game because it started out like, okay, well, this might be, a game. In the first half, it was back and forth, and then all of a sudden,
third quarter was back and forth.
Yeah.
We're up 28-17.
It was a wild game, and then that second half, it just got out of hand.
I mean, that game was encapsulated everything that Miami's been. They start out slow, then Cam Ward comes on, then Cam Ward will have just the most ridiculous interception you've ever seen. Yeah. and then the defense steps up, and then Restrepo, that dude, I don't know what kind of NFL receiver he's going to be, but he is so fun to watch in college. and to think all the star receivers they've had at Miami, and he's the all-time leader in what was receptions and yards at Miami.
I'm about to date myself as if the gray hair hadn't already done that. But he gives off Ed McCaffrey vibes to me. Like, not the fastest, not the biggest, but if you throw him the ball, he's gonna catch it.
Yeah.
And he's gonna do great things when he catches it.
Yeah.
That's who he is.
If the Patriots were still the Patriots with Brady and Belichick, then he'd be the perfect.
He's the perfect.
He's Edelman.
He's the prototypical Belichick wide receiver.
Yeah, the slot receiver that catches everything.
Belichick may be back in the league at some
I
point.
was just gonna say Belichick may be drafting him next year. We don't know.
He might be in Dallas.
might be in New York. I don't know. Like a lot of options for Belichick going forward.
The Giants make more sense.
Belichick hanging out with Jerry Jones.
I can't either. I think it makes more sense for the Giants, especially since he has a past with the Giants. He's won a Super Bowl with the Giants, so that makes more sense.
It'd be like a homecoming there. This was also a strange game.
Yeah, anytime NC State scores 59 points, it's a strange game.
Wow.
I remember when you texted me during that game. It's like, what is happening?
I couldn't believe it. I was like, what is happening? NC State putting up numbers? Like, what are we doing right now? Like, it was crazy. Stanford managed to score a touchdown in every quarter, and that was it.
There's a time difference.
It's a time difference. I mean,
it was a noon game on the East Coast for a West Coast team. That's not fair. That's not fair.
Well, it definitely wasn't fair this weekend. NC State, that was crazy. That was CJ Bailey. I don't know if he's played this well all season long. Like, it was crazy. They had two receivers that put up 100 yards.
Yeah.
Jordan Waters and Hollywood Smothers. Is that not one of the greatest names? We didn't do our annual football names this year. We should have done that.
The game essentially started at 9 a.m. for Stanford, which means they probably got to the stadium at 7 a.m.
Right.
Which when they had a 6 a.m.
alarm.
That ain't fair.
That's crazy. Virginia Tech and Syracuse, that was a great game, start to finish. Virginia Tech came out on fire, 14 points out the gate. They held Syracuse to 3 points, and they had everybody in the country thinking, Syracuse might be in trouble. They don't lose at home, but this might be the time. And then in that second half, they outscored Virginia Tech 28-17 and pushed it over into overtime and got the win in overtime. Phenomenal, like I said, a phenomenal game. Kyle McCord figured it out eventually. He actually had a pretty decent day, 280, 2 touchdowns, did throw a pick, but he had a pretty good game. Colin Shree, I guess, is the new quarterback for Virginia Tech because Drones went out. What happened to Drones? Anybody know what happened to Drones?
I assume he got hurt.
Did he get hurt in that? I guess he got hurt in that game, I'm assuming.
Other than that Pittsburgh debacle, McCord's been really good all season. He
has.
You
can make a case that he was. Yeah.
I have no idea what happened to him in that game. That was crazy.
Yeah, that was a wild game. So great game that was a great, ended up being a phenomenal game in Syracuse. UNC and FSU. I feel like at this point it's unfair to have Charlie continue to have to try to find ways to discuss Florida State. And I don't really want to. Now, if you want to do it, Charlie, you have the right to do it. But I won't make you do it. It just feels unfair.
Look at his face.
Because the reason why they're losing is the same every week. It's the same stuff. It's nothing.
Yes, they're not any good. That's why they're losing.
I'm not gonna say they're not any good because they have talent and they have guys that are trying to figure it out. It's I mean, we're in a state where we play well enough not to get blown out. Like the end of the games have been very similar, but throughout the game, they've been very similar. Like we are hanging there, hanging there, and then like fourth quarter, teams find a way to separate. Our issue is we just can't find enough offense to give us a chance to win in the end. That's been our biggest Achilles heel. I mean, I don't know. We scored like 20. The most we scored this year in a game is 24 points or so, I want to say.
Yeah, I think it was the first game of the season, right? Against Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think that was
21 is like the most we've scored, which is not good. But that, to me, that's been the biggest issue is just finding offense. Like we haven't been able to put together drives. Even in the Georgia Tech game, gave us a chance because we did put together drives and the defense was playing well. It gave us a chance to win that game. Wow. But there was only a limited amount of possession. So, and we're playing a lot of young players, especially on the offensive line now. But it's, to me, I see it from the lens of hope for next year moving forward, to see what they have. And this is giving those young guys that they've recruited some valuable experience, because the only way you salvage this year is, I mean, if you can find a way to shock Notre Dame, which doesn't seem likely, but at least for the last two games, you want to have a chance to win. I mean, if you can finish off the season beating Charleston Southern and Florida, 3 wins, of course, is not what you want, but at least it gives you a chance to go into the off season with a two game winning streak after you lost, 7 straight, which unheard of here at Florida State. But I just think we got to see it for what it is. I mean, you can sit here and try to analyze it, but it is what it is. Playing a lot of young players at this point, and the only results that you probably are going to get is what we've been getting. Yeah, you got to live with it.
It's tough.
It's tough. It was crazy. While you were talking, Charles, I did go back and look at the scores of their games. It's just amazing to see they've only scored more than 20 points once, and that's the first game of the season.
Yeah,
that's insane.
I can't remember that happening to another Florida State team. I could be wrong, but I don't remember that happening. Even in the leaner years, I don't remember them not being able to move the ball. This is the first Florida State team that I can remember not moving the ball. Quick question for you, Charlie. Will we see another DJ Uiagalelei sighting?
I just wanted to say the name.
Well, I haven't been able to say it.
He's going through withdrawal.
Right, I haven't been able to say it all season. But will we see him at all this year anymore, or is that his career basically over?
His career is over.
Wow.
I mean, at this point, there's no need, because you want to continue to give the guys who are going to be with you next year those reps. And whatever DJ is going to provide is not going to be enough to win games. I mean, that was shown beforehand.
Yeah.
And so now I think he just probably need to start preparing for the NFL draft, whatever that looks like.
Well, I was just going to say, based on that, and we have no reason to believe or disbelieve Charlie Ward's assessment of this moment. What will be said going into the draft about DJ Uiagalelei? Will it be is he a draftable player? That's the question.
Quarterback.
I was going to say I think which is wild to think about because when he started, it felt like he had so much promise, but he just never quite got to that next thing. And it's, man, it feels like he's probably headed toward, I don't know. He may be better served to go to, like, I hate to say this, but he may be better served to go to like a USFL situation.
No, seriously.
And
Seriously, where he's going to get playing time, and he's going to. I mean, he'll most likely start at that level, get some playing time, get some tape out there, and develop. Because
that's if he's committed.
I can't see him getting drafted.
Yeah, and that's if he's committed to wanting to stay in the sport at this point. He may be, he's had a lot of challenges, and so he may be like, it's run its course.
He'd be a great tight end at that size.
If he wanted to make the switch, if he wanted to make the switch, I don't know. It's just a fascinating story with him, and a cautionary tale to the transfer portal, because would he be this player had he stayed at Clemson?
Or he would probably be on the bench.
He'd be on the bench because of Klubnik.
That could be true. Well, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't. That could be true. Yeah,
they were going with Klubnik.
They were.
That was the reason why he ended up transferring.
Yeah.
So that was evident that was their plan, and they brought it to fruition as we see today. Transfer portal is, like I said, it's good for some, and you just have to be careful who you bring in, what you're bringing in. But, the crazy part about it is, people we can always analyze things after they happen. And, you're going to be 100% correct.
Right.
In the afterlife.
Right.
They say hindsight. But
always 2020.
And then people keep talking about the transfer portal. Like, I'm like, everybody's doing it. So it's not just Florida State, that hadn't hit on the transfers. And then again, we had transfers when we were on the 13-0 team.
Right.
The team that went 10-3.
Right.
Yeah.
The team before that. So that team built up to the 13-0. And they had a lot of veteran players from that group. And the transfers that they brought in were made up a good portion of their offense and their defense over the course of time. Mm-hmm. And so when you have that type of reduction and drop off, and you have inexperienced guys coming back to try to replace them, even the transfer they brought in weren't like the best players on their team. What I mean by the best players is, they were, some didn't even play on the team that they played for before a lot. And some were, just middle road. They weren't the stars. Mm-hmm. And so eventually those guys will be good once they're in the system and continue to develop, but they just aren't there yet.
Yeah, the transfer portal is not a automatic. You don't get a transfer that automatically become great. That's not how this works. You might hit on some, you might miss on some. It's probably more likely that you may miss on most of the guys that are transferred because there's a reason why they're transferred.
That's the same as recruiting, though. It's the same as recruiting.
Exactly, it's the same thing as recruiting. You don't know what you're getting until you get it. But let's be fair. Lowell may have hit on Tyler Shuck. He's pretty damn good.
I've been saying that on the field.
That kid can play.
And this game is the funniest game when you think about it, because here's Louisville with Jeff Brom, who's been the king of the transfer portal. Yes. Goes in and smacks Clemson, who is devoutly against the transfer portal.
Yes.
If I'm a fan, I'm just saying, I know, look, if I'm a Clemson fan, I'm like, okay. Because they were leaving at halftime, and the game was still a game, but they saw the writing on the wall.
That was kind of wild to me. I don't think
it wasn't even just that. Clemson felt like they quit on the game because the possession before Isaac Brown had that touchdown to put the game away.
Yeah.
it's still the fourth quarter. It's still a
Yeah.
game, and
Yeah.
Clemson has no sense of urgency whatsoever.
Yeah.
They did not. They just, it felt like, and not even. I'm not even putting that on the players. I mean, because the players can only do so much. If the play's not getting into them, I mean, the coaching staff's not having a sense of urgency. That was strange. But I want to give you this note. I want to give you this note.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
This
We
game.
want all the key codes.
So Monday night, of course, U of L's first basketball game. I'm in between.
Right.
I'm just wrapped up my live shots. I run into U of L president, Dr. Schatzel.
Okay.
And that's the first time I'd met her. She's like, I called that Clemson game. I was like, what do you mean? She said, this is the president of. If you look at, you would never think she's a sports fan.
Right.
Giant sports fan. She says, well, I was telling my friends, think about it. We've lost to 3 teams all in the top 25. Clemson hadn't played the top 25 teams since they lost to Georgia. They hadn't played anybody. You know what? She was right.
Very astute assessment. Very astute assessment.
Right. It's just great to hear that from the president, because presidents usually kind of distance himself from the athletic department. She does not. And
it was an interesting game, because if I'd have told you prior to the game that Phil Maffa was going to have 171 yards rushing against Louisville, you go, oh man, Louisville probably going to lose that game.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was quite the opposite. Cade Klubnik wasn't horrible. Now he threw the ball way more than I think Clemson wanted him to. 56 passes is not what they want out of that team at all.
I don't think Trevor Lawrence ever threw it that many times.
Huh?
I don't think Trevor Lawrence ever threw it 56 times in a
No,
game.
not at all. Not that I can remember. No, not at all. Or Deshaun Watson.
Right.
Like I don't think they ever threw it that much. But that's what happens when you're behind. You have to throw the ball to catch up.
True.
So it was an interesting game, and I agree with you, Kendrick. I don't. The tenor of the game in the second half was bizarre, because it felt like after that third quarter where Louisville was up, I think it was like was it 20, 23 or 30, 26 or something like that, 26-7. It was like, it felt like Clemson was like, we can't win this. Like, I don't know why they felt that way, because 26-7 in college football is not like a dominant score. It's a good score, but I think they felt like they had been dominated, I think. And it just, I don't know. It just was a weird game. It was a very weird game. And to be at home and to not pull the momentum from your crowd, and it was just a weird game. But who played phenomenal in this game.
Yeah, they built a 26-7 lead. It's crazy. It's 26-7 going into the fourth quarter. When Maffa scores, it's 26-14. They get the ball back.
Yeah.
And did nothing. And but also got attributed. I mean, Louisville blocked 2 field goals in that game.
I was going to say, Louisville could possibly be one of the greatest special teams field goal squads I've ever seen, because they have, most people don't get 4 blocked. Most people don't get 2 blocked field goals in a season. They had 2 in a game, and they've got 5. I think it's 5 total.
4 or 5.
4 or 5 all total. That's incredible. Their special teams coach might be the MVP of the squad right now. So
Rom's big on special teams. He is.
Well, listen,
he's very hands-on with the special teams.
That was a phenomenal game. So shout out to Louisville for getting that one. Isaac Brown that kid's gonna play on Sunday somewhere, and he's going to be great. That kid's just a freshman. Special. My God,
he's just a freshman.
20 carries for 151 yards. He is special. He is a walking first down. So what
did you think of that? We didn't get Charlie's opinion. What did you think of that game, Charlie?
Who was that? Louisville, Clemson?
Yeah.
I mean, Louisville controlled the game the entire way. Clemson didn't take advantage of opportunities that they had to close the gap. And as Kendrick mentioned, they didn't have a sense of urgency, even in the third quarter when they were down, trying to score. And the sense of urgency didn't mean that they had to rush to run plays or what have you, but it was just move at a different pace. Like,
Yes.
and they were wasting time. They were down 2 scores, and they were wasting time. And then it became 3 scores. They were still just wasting like valuable time.
Yeah.
Like,
when Louisville got that second block kick, that was the possession that I was like, why are they moving so slow?
Yeah, it was very strange. It just wasn't his courtesy.
So that was the telltale sign for me that they weren't really trying to win the game in a sense. Just because they weren't moving at a pace. Offensively, try to, like even the commentator were talking about their sense of urgency.
Yeah.
They just didn't have it. And I can understand it was in the first half that if that was the case in the first half, but when you're down 2 scores in the second half late, I mean, there has to be some form of urgency, whether it's getting a play in, whether it's guy
getting up to the line.
He just kept changing it, and they kept like meandering around, and I'm like, man, y'all down. Right. You need to at least move with a sense of urgency. Even if you don't want to go at a faster pace, at least move at a sense of urgency to try to, score before the clock keeps running out.
I mean, it felt like Louisville played with more urgency up 26-7 than Clemson did, and they were the ones down in the fourth quarter.
Well, and I thought maybe it was concession. Maybe it was like, man, they have beat our behinds out here today, and that bludgeoniness is maybe what they were feeling like. Maybe listen, sometimes when everybody's got to play until you get punched in the mouth, and then
I feel like
Louisville did that. Yeah.
I do feel like Louisville's defense gained a lot of confidence from the second half performance against Boston College.
Yeah.
I feel like that carried over into this game.
Well, that was the difference in the game. Let's be clear. Louisville's offense has always been its offense all season long, but that was the best defensive performance they've had all season.
Yeah, because the offense was good, but it wasn't.
Right, the offense was just good. It wasn't.
Brown was
dominant.
great, but
yeah,
Brown was great. But the rest of it,
I'm gonna say, if you want to make a case, this was actually Tyler Shuck's
that was his worst game.
His best game.
It was his worst game. He only threw for 156 yards.
Yeah. So, but the defense was just they were teeing off. They were really teeing off. So anyway, interesting game, and then the game that was supposed to be the game of the week was not a game. No. SMU came out and proved to the world we're for real.
I don't think anybody wants to go to Dallas and play. Nobody wants to go to Dallas and play them.
Listen. I have said in that stadium, they have a distinct advantage. It is.
It's not very big, is it?
It's not very big, but it's like a weird sunken stadium, and it feels like the fans are right on top of you, and so when you're sitting in that stadium, it'll get loud real fast, and I think it is messing with teams tremendously. And listen, Kevin Jennings threw 25 passes, he completed 17, but it was 306 yards. This kid, I don't know why people are not talking about him more. He is a really solid freshman quarterback. He's really good.
I've got a feeling Charlie's got a fantastic reason why they're not talking about him more, Mr. Ward.
Why do you think that? I'm very curious, Charlie.
Maybe because he's not in the SEC or the Big Ten.
You were correct, Kendrick. He had a great reason. That is fantastic, Charlie.
I know my teammates.
Yeah. That is a shout out to Charlie Ward for slam dunking that one.
If he was in the SEC or the Big Ten,
or if you're Heisman candidate,
he would be in the Heisman race.
Right. Yeah.
But he's at SMU, who's first year in the ACC, and they're not even getting paid by the
right. They're paying to be in it.
And they're on the verge of winning the ACC.
Their first year, yeah. 100%.
I mean, they have the most well-rounded team. I mean,
I mean,
they play well offensively. They play well defensively.
Yes.
Teams, and so
honestly, I think they'll
coached.
beat Miami.
And so I just think, people are saying it was their first year and they come from the AAC. Well, they were good last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the AAC.
Yeah. And they didn't even have this kid last year, and they were good. Yeah.
And so I just think we got to stop putting, what you call it? We keep putting people in a box.
Yeah.
Schools in a box. Like, yes, this is their first time in the ACC, and they're good. Like, let's just call it for what it is. They're good. Now, whether they're the same, I think they compete with the top tier teams.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this, Charlie, to your
as
point. Yeah, I'll say this to your point. I think if you think out there in sports land, Division I sports land right now, if you think that you're just going to run up on SMU wherever you decide to play them, and you're going to blow them out because you haven't heard about them, I think you are in for I think you are sorely in for a fight that you were not expecting, because they are going to punch you in the mouth.
SMU can play
repeatedly.
anybody.
So I'm the one thing that I am hoping happens during this playoff. I want it to be the first year. I need one of the Boise State, hopefully SMU gets in, or it can be anyone in that bottom tier.
So-called, yeah.
Yeah, so-called bottom tier.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To upset the top tier teams.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That we're all claiming to be national championship worthy, because we've seen Houston beat Florida State in a bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen Boise State beat Oklahoma in a bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen those type of games where it's one game that they're able to put together a great game to win that game.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just hoping that we have something like that, just to say this is the reason why we need 12 as opposed to 4, because there are teams out there that can win at least one game.
SMU can do it with Boise State, with Genty. I mean, they're super dangerous going up against one of these, because like even the top tier teams like Oregon, they're not overwhelming. Nobody's overwhelming. They just get hyped like that, but they're not. None of them are overwhelming.
No,
and even look like the quarterback situation. Cam Ward, he's getting the attention he deserves, but a lot of that's because he's at a legacy school like Miami. But you look at Tyler Shuck's numbers, his numbers are up there with just about everybody in the country. You don't hear anything about Tyler Shuck outside of the ACC.
Yeah.
And same with SMU's quarterback. You don't hear about him outside of the ACC.
You don't hear about him outside of the ACC. So in our Bleav picks, we had Ohio State, Penn State, and this was a layup for Kendrick because
I never was nervous.
Penn State just listen. One time is a fluke. 2 times is a recurrence. 3 times is a pattern. 8 times is who you are. That's who you are. And unfortunately, James Franklin, this is who you are. He has yet to beat Ohio State 8 times in a row. That's who you are. And I don't know why you're that way. I don't know why you can't. I don't know why it's that theme. This feels like therapy may need to be involved. Like, I don't know, but it's. So,
not to cut you off, but
feel free, Charlie.
I understand why everyone's on James Franklin. I get it. The man goes 10-2 every year, and he hadn't beaten Ohio State and Michigan.
8 times, Charlie. It's 8 times.
All right, so that we all understand that.
Okay.
But Ryan Day got very similar criticism because he hadn't been able to beat Michigan for however many years.
It's just 2.
And then we had Jim Harbaugh. Is it Jim Harbaugh? Yeah. Jim
Mhm.
Harbaugh, who had all the criticism because at
He couldn't
one
beat Ohio
point
State.
he couldn't beat Ohio State.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they beat Ohio State couple times, and all that stuff went away. And so Penn State can't get over the hump with Ohio State or Michigan. I get it. But who they gonna bring in is gonna be better.
Oh, I didn't say replace him.
I know, and I'm not saying replace him.
Yeah. No. I'm with you
I
on
think
that.
it's hard. I mean, it is hard. I mean, how do you replace a guy that wins 10 games every season? You can't do
Right.
that.
You didn't hear me say replace him. I just think he's got to figure out on a personal level what detail he's missing that's keeping him from getting over the hump. There's something that he's missing. Because he gets close, even he's getting close to beating him. Well, let's be specific to this. Let's be specific to this game. That final call at the end of the game of running the ball in the middle 3 times in a row, with all due respect to you, sir, that wasn't the right call. That wasn't the right call.
Well, it would have been right if they would have scored.
Yeah, but
now that we look back, it wasn't the right call, of course. But they thought they had something there, and I'm sure they probably had more plays. And I guarantee you, they're sitting there kicking themselves like, man, I wish we would have done this.
Yeah,
but when you lose, that's normally what you do, especially close games. As a coach, you sit there and think about all the different things that you could have done differently, and the game's over. Like, it's over. You got to learn from it and move on. But
yeah,
that is the tough part. I'm sure they practice those plays to win, but Ohio State had a different thought process, and they bowed their necks on the goal line. And all the people that's talking about Coach not Francis, what's his the coach name?
Franklin. Yeah.
Franklin. Coach Franklin. And the man had a chance to tie the game on the 1 yard line. So I totally get the criticism, like they hadn't won and what have you. But it wasn't like they got blown out, 1. And 2, they had a chance to tie the game at the end. And yes, they didn't pull through. But I understand the criticism because they hadn't won in how many ever years it's been, and they've won 10 games every year. They just haven't been able to beat the top 2 teams. But the more chances you get, as Coach Jimbo Fisher said, I would rather have a chance to win all the games than not, have a chance. No. And so they're in the ballpark, and I Bleav at some point it's going to change, just like Jim Harbaugh, just like Ryan Day. At some point it's going to change because Ryan Day had won a national championship, right?
Gone. I think he's got one. Was he the
like
coach
he got one
with Justin Fields?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like he got one. I don't remember
was
who
he the head coach or was he OC?
That's a good question.
I want to say he was the coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's hard.
Seems like it's
moment.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, the other game that was interesting, and I kind of felt like this is what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. You called that one.
Yeah, Texas Tech kind of pulled it out against Iowa State. Texas Tech is a sneaky good team that has not found consistent ways to win every game, but they are in every. It feels like they're in every game, and they held. They had one more better play than Iowa State had, and then of course. And in our pro games, Dolphins, Bills, this was a good game.
Good game.
All the way to the end. The Bills found a way to win this game late.
A 61-yard field goal.
With a 61-yard field goal. And so they pulled it out. And then this was a interesting game. The Lions are that good. These are
They
not
are-
your granddaddy's Lions.
The Lions I think they might be the best team in the league.
These are not your granddaddy's Lions. They are
They're
that
not.
good.
They're not our Lions. We
They're
don't have
not, they're not the Lions of my generation or our generation. They are that good. So let's
Hell,
be clear.
if you're a 10-year-old kid, this ain't the Lions of your generation.
Right. You don't even know what a bad Lions team looked like. You like,
Oh yeah, if you're 10, you do.
so that has led us to a very strange place right now.
Very strange. Look at you in the lead.
I mean, I don't know how this happened, but I'm back up in the hizzy, baby, as they say.
It's the first time you've been in the lead this late in the season ever in the history of the show.
Ever in the history of the show. That is correct.
Maybe
That
it's
is correct.
conspiracy.
But I'm not taking as many chances either
We
this season.
might check them. He might be over there.
No, listen.
With the pencil.
Listen, Charlie. I have checked it because I'm as shocked as anybody. I'll be honest with you. But I also know that I have not taken as many chances this year as I've taken in the past. And the chances that I've taken have panned out. So that's why we are where we are. So which brings us to our pick.
It's a CON conspiracy.
It could be that as well. I won't kid you.
You've taken fewer chances this year. This is true. You didn't get on the Syracuse train early.
Well, no, actually, I did get on the Syracuse train,
but not as bad as you have been before.
Yeah, not blind faith in Syracuse. I'm trying to be a little more calculated. And then again, the Louisville one is what saved me this week because I didn't lose a game this week, and the Louisville game is what saved me because I just felt like he was due. Yeah. Now, I don't know why I felt like he was due in Clemson, but I just felt like he was due. They give me some props, Charlie. I want to make sure you get your props here. They say saw you in the Black Quarterback documentary with Vic, and it was good. It was really good, by the way. Michael Vick did an outstanding job with that.
I still need to watch that. I gotta watch my boy Coach Charlie.
Yeah. It was very good. Okay, so let's do our picks for this week. It starts with a Friday game, California and Wake Forest. Another.
So California has to come all the way across the country 2 weeks in a row. They probably just stayed, I would imagine.
Probably just stay. I'm sure they just stayed. But they're doing it against Wake Forest.
You never know who's going to show up.
Surely, because they're 0-4 in the ACC right now.
Who is that? Wake?
Surely.
California is 0-4.
California is 0-4 in the ACC.
They played a lot of close games, though.
They have.
All their games are close.
Pretty much every game they played.
Except for
have they gotten blown out in any
last
game?
week. They got blown out last week.
They got blown out Oh, yeah, Oregon State was bad. No, they won.
No, they NC State. No, that was Stanford that played NC State. No, I got that back. I got them mixed up.
Yeah. They listen. I gotta believe a win is coming. They here's where they are in the ACC right now: a 5-point loss to Florida State, a 1-point loss to Miami in a classic, a 2-point loss to Pitt, both ranked teams, and a 1-point loss to NC State. I gotta believe a win is coming. I'm going Cal on this one. I just think they've set themselves up for a win at some point. And it's a late game. Yeah,
it's 5 o'clock their time.
Yeah, it's a late game.
Well, their defense is definitely good. Their offense is very sporadic in the sense that they've scored a lot of points, and then there's some games where they haven't scored.
Yeah.
Wildly inconsistent on offense.
And so the defense has been solid pretty much all year, minus the second half of the Miami game.
But they put up 44 against a halfway decent Oregon State team.
Their offense does not travel. Look at their road games.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It hasn't traveled yet. But to be fair, other than Florida State, they played Pitt. We all know Pitt's not that's not an offensive starter. Like you're not going to get your offense started in Pitt if it's struggling. So I don't know. I think I'm going Cal. I just feel like they're due.
I think I'm going. I think I'm gonna go Wake Forest. I'm looking at it. I mean, Wake Forest does have a better offense that's more consistent,
Okay.
and they've got a decent defense. Because outside of the NC's, well, they have given up 40 points a couple times, but but it was against Ole Miss. But they also gave up
points against
They
Ole
also
Miss.
gave up 41 points to the Raging Cajuns, so there's that. So I'm begrudgingly gonna go Wake Forest.
All right. Charlie, you going Wake Forest at home?
I don't know. I'm gonna go with California.
Okay. I just gotta believe that at some point they're gonna crack the code. I don't know. We could be way off on this, Charlie, but it just feels like they're gonna crack the code at some point. Okay. Miami and Georgia Tech. As far as I know, I have not heard. Is Haynes King back? Because as long as Haynes King is not playing, they don't have a chance.
Miami's defense.
I don't
know. They seem good, and they're not good.
Right. They give up big plays. They love giving up chunk plays.
Yeah. The latest on Haynes King is that they are hopeful he is good to go on Saturday.
But I'm
not
hopeful. Cam Ward. I mean, that guy, he seems to find a way to win games, no matter what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not picking against them against Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
And we need Miami to keep winning.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we're making a trifecta there. Syracuse and Boston College is at noon.
Syracuse.
I'm with Charlie. We're both going Syracuse.
Okay. Well, then, yeah, that'll definitely be one of another trifecta game if we are all going there. Clemson with trying to get the bounce back on the road against Virginia Tech.
What's their quarterback status for Virginia Tech?
Let's see if Drones is playing. Although they won without him this past weekend. So let's see.
I'm leaning towards Virginia Tech.
I am as well.
Just because the way Clemson looked at the end of that Louisville game. They just looked beaten.
The latest on Kyron Drones and Bashul Tootin is that they have a quote unquote good chance to play on Saturday.
I mean, that makes all the difference in the world in the picks.
Yeah.
Especially with Tootin.
How about we agree that any Virginia Tech picks are like we did. We just to let our audience know, the last time Haynes King was exited out of the game, we found out early. We all were given the opportunity to adjust, although I think we'd already picked the opposite team anyway. So we'll use that same caveat for this game. If you pick Virginia Tech, and for some reason leading into the game they don't play, we give each other the grace to say, okay, no, you can go the other way.
I'm gonna go Virginia Tech. I just didn't like the way Clemson looked at the end of that game.
So you going Virginia Tech, okay? Here's the reason why I'm going Virginia Tech. If Bashul Tootin plays, he might be the second best back they've seen all season.
I mean, Isaac Brown. I mean, it's
right.
They're
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, pick
your
poison.
To be able to control the game that way feels like Clemson feels like they got to kind of expose this weekend to that. So I'm going to join you in that pick, Kendrick. Charlie, where you going with that one?
I'm going Clemson.
Okay. Now, Friday we may both be joining you. We'll see.
Right.
Where we go. Okay. Duke and North Carolina State. This game sickens me because I have no idea what either one of these teams are going to do. I honestly, what the heck? I don't know.
I mean, Duke looked as good as you can look and as bad as you can look in the same game, in the same half.
It's unbelievable. And NC State, who you never would have thought in a season they could put up 53 points. It was unbelievable.
I
don't know.
I heard, I haven't really seen him play, but I heard the freshman quarterback is dynamic
For NC State.
for NC State.
Well, he must have been doing something right because
I'm gonna go with them. Like I said, I haven't seen the guy play, but I heard it was dynamic.
NC State at home.
This is a tough one for me. This is tough.
I
was so impressed with Duke in the first 2.5 quarters of that Miami game.
They looked phenomenal in that game, and then it
went away.
Oh, the bottom fell completely out. I don't know.
I will say though that the momentum of that game changed after Cam Ward threw that ridiculous interception. Duke went 3 and out right after that, and that's when the game changed.
And that's when the game just completely changed. Yeah.
And so I think they can bounce back from that. I'll go Duke.
Going Duke.
I think I'm going to regret this.
To say that NC State may have found something could be the biggest lie ever told on a podcast. So I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'm going to begrudgingly go NC State, but I don't know. This might be one of the worst pick'em games ever. I don't know. Florida State, Notre Dame.
I'm going Notre Dame.
What are you doing, Charlie? You're
so
wearing
fast.
a Florida State ACC Legends shirt. You're going
so fast.
I need a win for the Seminoles, so I'm picking
the win.
It's a trifecta.
Yeah, I want to believe in your team, Charlie. I just can't.
No.
I just can't.
Against anybody.
Right. And then Virginia and Pittsburgh.
I'm off the Virginia train.
Pitt is angry right now.
I'm off the Virginia train. You mean Pitt?
Yeah, I gotta believe Pitt is very angry right now because they let one slip through the cracks. Maybe I don't know, but there you go. So we all go Pitt.
One slip through the cracks. They got cracked.
They got. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Okay, so in your I Believe games this week, you have 5 choices this week. Coming out the gate, you've got Colorado at Texas Tech, which should be a good one. You've got Alabama and LSU, which should be interesting. Or what I like to call the Ken Brian Kelly actually win the big one game. Georgia and Ole Miss should be very interesting. Mm-hmm. And that Ole Miss is going to be insane. That building's going to be insane.
Yeah.
And then tonight you've got Bengals Ravens, a desperate Bengals team trying to climb out of the mud still.
Desperate all year.
Yeah, they've been desperate all year.
They've been desperate since they lost to the Patriots to open the season.
This might be the season though. Like if they lose this one, I don't think there's any bounce back. There's no path. And then Steelers Commanders is going to be a very interesting game as well. So those are your I Believe games, gentlemen. Who will you be taking in your I Believe game this week?
This is the toughest week I think we've had.
I think so. Top to bottom, I think so.
I'm gonna go with I don't know if this will happen, but I'm gonna go with Ole Miss over Georgia.
Ooh, interesting.
I want to see the CFP shake up.
I'm
Yeah.
100% here for the chaos,
Yeah, we
Charlie.
need both Georgia and Alabama to lose this week.
100% here for the chaos.
Especially just in the SEC though.
Yes,
Right.
100% here for the chaos.
Because they'll be saying their teams are better than and all that, which I don't know. They may be. Who knows? But
Right.
Ole Miss to me is one of those teams that's like one of the top tier. They're not the top tier, but they're right below the top tier teams.
Yeah.
And they could easily be good enough to.
That loss to Kentucky is the biggest head scratcher of the season, I think.
Yeah.
Especially the way Kentucky hadn't won a game since.
That's
the biggest head scratcher of the season.
Absolutely stuck. I thought they were going to win the Tennessee game. They came out on fire, and then all of a sudden the bottom dropped all the way out.
I'm also curious to find out because Vandy's beat quite a few teams.
Yeah.
This year that
old eligible Vandy.
They weren't expected to beat. And so will that count against some of these teams that they're looking at? Because Vandy, to me, is a good team. I mean,
they are good.
Team.
They are a good team. That's why it won't count against us.
Will they go into the quote unquote low expectation, reputation type of team? Because SMU's in that group. There are quite a few teams. Indiana's in that group.
Indiana, yeah.
So there are teams like that where people didn't expect them. Their name recognition is not like huge, but they're a good football team.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. Ole Miss is 16 because of that Kentucky.
Oh, for
game.
sure.
Yeah, and they may not have now. If they beat Georgia, then they're back in the conversation.
Yeah,
but so I'm
really, if Georgia loses and Alabama loses, they'll just move Ole Miss and LSU in there.
I'll say this. I'll say this to your point, Charlie. Georgia better not fall behind to Ole Miss. They better not fall too far behind because I don't think, from what I've seen of Georgia this year, Carson Beck is not. I think Carson Beck, unfortunately, has played himself. He may have played himself out of the first round.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I just think, and it's unfortunate because I think he's not a horrible quarterback, but sometimes it's kind of like what happened to Teddy Bridgewater. The longer you stay, the more people find out what you can't do. And I think that's what's happening
between him and Teddy. Like Teddy didn't throw all those interceptions.
Right. Carson has thrown. He's not been great in tight situations.
Yeah, he's like what they used to say about Edgar Sosa. He has the ability to keep both teams in the game.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think Carson Beck may have messed himself up, but it's gonna be interesting.
I think my Bleav game. I think I'm going to go the Commanders over the Steelers.
What a year! And then to get Marshawn Lattimore.
Yes.
They're all in. They are all in.
Who got the Commanders?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got him. They got him at the trade deadline.
Yeah. I'm going the Commanders.
So the one real problem they had on defense, they maybe fixed it.
They may have fixed it.
They may have fixed it. So,
Lattimore gambles a lot though, so he can get you picks, but he can give up 6.
He's the best of times and the worst of times.
It's just him being aggressive.
Yeah. I may take the layup too this weekend. I feel like Colorado, Texas Tech, as much as I think that's a tough game in Texas Tech.
I don't think that's a layup.
That is not a layup.
The reason why I'm saying it could be is because I'm thinking that Texas Tech, that was a big game for them to beat Iowa State. And
Kansas. Kansas State.
I mean, Kansas State. Yeah, that was a big game for them to beat them. And I feel like I didn't think. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't think Kansas State was that great when they beat Colorado, but they made enough plays to beat them when they beat them. And now I think Colorado's figured out a lot about who they are. So I don't know. Maybe I should stay away from that game. Now that I think, now I may have talked myself out of it.
Texas Tech beat Iowa State last week. That was right.
Was Iowa State? Okay, I thought it was Iowa State, but I can't remember.
Who beat Kansas State?
Give me a second. How stupid ESPN. Kansas State lost to
I forgot.
Houston. They lost at Houston.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Coach Willie Fritz.
You know what? Maybe I need to take this Bengals Ravens.
That's the closest to a layup, and I still
Ravens
wouldn't call
at
it a
home.
layup. It's
And
good.
no T. Higgins. Yeah, give me Ravens. I just remembered. I don't think T. Higgins is playing, which means they're going to double down on Jamar Chase. Oh, and no Zach Moss. Yeah, give me Ravens. I'm taking Ravens.
They got Gesicki though. Gesicki got 2 touchdowns last week.
Yeah, Gesicki's playing better. He's
Cheer every time he scores because he can do that stupid looking gritty that he does.
He has by far the worst gritty of all time. But he's committed.
And he knows it. He knows it and he leans into it. This is what makes it so great.
I think he knows it's bad, and that's why.
He does. Yeah, he does. Because he tried to do it with Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase couldn't stop laughing.
He's like, no, you're not going to ruin this for me. You're not going to ruin it. Okay, so those are our picks for the week. And we'll see how it goes. That's all I can tell you. We'll see how it goes. There's definitely some ones that Duke and the NC State just that's irritating to me. I swear.
A wet blanket on everything.
I can't stand that game. It's just bad. Okay. All right. What are we doing, gentlemen? For our shout outs this week.
Coach Junior.
I'd like to give a collective one while you guys are gathering your thoughts.
Right.
I was just going to say real quick, shout out to John Morant for bringing back old school beef.
Yes.
When asked,
Old school what?
Old school beef. Like complete distaste and dislike for another team.
John Morant's not here to make friends.
Say it again?
John Morant's not here to make friends.
He's not here to make friends. He said after the game, after last night, he said about the Lakers, I don't like them. I enjoy a good beef.
I love that.
That makes me happy.
Especially when, LeBron tried to hit him with the too small thing, and then Ja came back down and scored and went up and bumped LeBron in the back.
Yeah.
They called him for a tech, and it wasn't nothing. It's not like Ja Morant's going to actually hurt LeBron James. But I love that because that stemmed back from last year in the playoffs when LeBron got that dunk and kind of jumped in Ja's face when Ja's in street clothes.
Yeah.
And Ja remembered that. He brought that up. And so, yeah, I love legitimate. And the Grizzlies, they beef with everybody. they beef with Houston.
Angry.
They beef with Golden State. They beef with everybody.
Well, you know what's interesting about the Grizzlies team? They are exactly what Memphis, the city, is.
They are Memphis.
They are Memphis. They are exactly what that city is. So it is not surprising. I think when you live in that city, it is a prerequisite for you to be angry.
I've met some of the nicest people in the world that I know. They're from Memphis, and they all have a crazy streak.
Both things are true, Kendrick. Both things are true. So there you go. So I just wanted to throw that out as a collective shout out. So there you go.
All right, Coach Junior.
Okay, you guys got your shout outs ready? I'll try to buy you some time.
I forgot who else.
A Seminole.
No, it wasn't a Seminole.
What? That's a curve.
Well, I guess it is a Seminole.
Of course.
I'd like to shout out our football team in the FSUS.
Okay.
They're currently.
I'm glad you added that S.
Currently 7-3. But they had a big, huge win against a 4 or 5A, a little bit bigger school, who was 9-0 on the season.
Oh wow.
Ended up beating them by 3 points, 30-27, in a epic game where they had to drive the football down the field to win the game with a little over a minute and some change left. And they were able to make it happen. So I'm very proud of them. The coaching staff, Coach Jerry Hickman and his staff, they do a great job. And so just excited for them as they move forward towards the playoffs.
Awesome.
And also shout out to Coach Barksdale, who's our volleyball coach at FSUS. They made it all the way to the Final Four. They got beat in the semis, but nonetheless, they made it to the Final Four, which was a great feat because they weren't expected to be there.
Wow.
Shout out to those two programs.
I'll give a shout out to the Bellarmine University women's basketball team. They've been a struggle since they moved up to D1, and they've started out the season 2-0. Granted, they were kind of scheduled victories, but still 2-0 is 2-0 for a program that has been struggling since they moved up to D1. Bellarmine's basketball program is finally NCAA eligible this year for the tournament, and their NCAA's goofy rules. But so they're eligible this year to make the NCAA tournament. The women are off to a 2-0 start. They don't get very much coverage around here. They kind of fall down in the pecking order of everything. So I just wanted to give them a shout out.
All right. Well, listen. While we were all sleeping, the Boston College and North Carolina women, well, only women play the sport anyway, but they both made it to the ACC Field Hockey Championship final.
There's men's field hockey. It was all in the Olympics. I saw men's field hockey in the Olympics.
I know. Well, yes, that is.
No, granted, I was this year's Olympics old when I found out that men played field hockey.
I didn't even know men were playing field hockey. I got to be honest with you.
I didn't either.
But this is championship week right now for all the squads, right? Am I?
Yeah, soccer. Florida State's women, of course, they're in the mix in the soccer tournament. ACC tournament. They had to beat who did they beat the other night? Pitt? No.
Yeah.
Was it Pitt? No.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, whoever they beat, we ended up winning 2-1 to make. They had to, they played a home game to get to Cary for the ACC tournament.
Yeah.
So they made it, and they're playing Wake Forest, I think, tonight. They're playing Wake Forest one of these days.
Yeah. Well, and then the other ACC shout I will give is women's volleyball. It is more than likely that of Pitt and Louisville and North Carolina, of those three teams, one of them could be playing in the national championship game. They are all very, 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 very good. Pitt only lost one game this season. They look like a championship team.
And they went down to the fifth set against Louisville when they played at Pitt earlier this year. Of course, the national championship will be played right here in Louisville. So Louisville's got all the incentive in the world to make a run in the tournament because they would have home court advantage.
So there you go. So it's going to be an interesting month here of November to see who emerges from all of what's going on. But one of my shout outs also is kind of a petty one. I'll admit that in advance, but but I'm here for the petty. Shout out to Golden State last night, who was told that this was a revenge game for one Jason Tatum, that, for being benched in the Olympics and not being respected for his talent or whatever that is. He was going to get revenge last night. He got something all right. got a full smooth dose of Steph Curry.
Especially in that fourth quarter.
Man, that was a great game. If you watched it last night, Golden State, Boston, a great game. But there was a song in the 90s called "Y'all Must Have Forgot," and Steph Curry is still Steph Curry. Let's not be confused. And by the way, Golden State looks outstanding right now.
Buddy
They
Hield
have
is fit
unlocked
right in.
Buddy Hield.
Yeah, he's fit right in. They defensively are as good as they've been in a long time. Yeah,
This is the Buddy Hield that we all thought he was going to be when he left college. Like he's shooting.
low key. Buddy Hield's been this. He's just bounced around, but he's been this. He's just featured
been this
more
offensively. I don't think he's been this as a two-way. Their defense is insane, and Buddy Hield is a strong contributor to that. Like he looks committed to both sides of the court, and man, they look. Listen, I'm not gonna hold you, but they look good.
So you're
Andrew Wiggins can get healthy.
watching the Golden State Warriors again?
Say that one more time.
So you're saying I need to start watching the Golden State Warriors?
I think so.
You need to watch Golden State. You need to watch the Grizzlies.
I think you need to watch them. I think you need to watch the Thunder. The Thunder looks great. Even though they took it on the chin last night to the Nuggets in their y'all must have forgot game last night. But I just wanted to give. I'm here for the petty. I love a good petty revenge game, and Jason played great last night to his credit. And by the way, missing Jaylen Brown, missing Porzingis, so they're not whole yet.
Jaylen Brown,
but still,
no, Jaylen Brown didn't play.
Yeah, but still,
where he's injured.
Yeah, he's injured. Yeah, he was injured last night. But also, I want to give a shout out to Louisville's Donovan Mitchell, who he and Darius Garland and the Cavaliers are also playing some outstanding basketball right now.
Mm-hmm.
Have they lost
Donovan
yet?
Mitchell, huh?
Have they lost yet?
They have not lost yet. 9-0.
Wow.
Leading the Eastern Conference right now, because it's now that Boston has lost twice.
It's early.
Yeah.
It's very early.
They did beat the Lakers by 100.
Yeah, they dumped the Lakers off.
The Lakers started out hot and they've returned to form.
Well, yeah, and then again, they're not healthy either. They got a lot. The pieces that they need to be playing aren't playing. D'Lo is not good. That is a problem that they need to solve, and they need to solve it early.
Blonde dye out of his hair. What are we doing?
Well, listen, he wasn't playing any better when he wasn't any blonde dye. So it's the blonde dye had something more with it.
What are you doing?
It's not a consistent player. He just, when a guy shows you who he is, sometimes you got to believe him. So there you go. Well, listen, this has been fun. I've enjoyed this tremendously, as we always do. We will do it all again next week, right here on the very podcast.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Same bat time, same bat channel. We'll be here. That's Kendrick Haskin. That's Charlie Ward. I'm Lloyd Spence. We'll see you next time. You've been listening to Bleav in the ACC with Charlie Ward, Lloyd Spence, and Kendrick Haskins. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share from the Noisemakers page on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and wherever podcasts can be heard. And join us next time on Bleav in the ACC.